to get said iPhone.
All right, I'm back.
Well, we're live on YouTube, and what I want to know is how it's managed to choose the image. But it is live. So welcome, YouTube. And Mike, are you going to get us going, or do you want me to do it?
Ready to do it now.
Okay, fire away.
And I will do everything in the background as we're starting the show. Enjoy,
Lovely.
everybody.
Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voices clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better systems, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Prediction Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. Switches, streaming, mics and light, making every moment land just right. Guests and makers join the conversation, bringing insight, crafting innovation. From the first idea to the final frame, every tool can change the game. Manufacturers, pros and brands, sharing real solutions firsthand. Live or hybrid, room or remote, every cue and every note. Smarter workflow, stronger shows. That's the way the power grows. It's the Prediction Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. When the pressure's on, we raise the game. New ideas and trusted names. Every week another
Follow that. Don't know if I can. Maybe I need to get some help. Who's that put their hands up in the audience? I can't tell. Is it Roland? I have surpassed myself today. I really have. I've done better than you ever expected. Today, gentlemen, ladies, I have fried an iPhone. Yep. And I did it. I did it in the security of a mouse case as well. I'd like to recommend mouse cases. They're really strong. Unfortunately, they're not very good at helping you keep an iPhone cool. Actually, most cases aren't very good at helping you keep an iPhone cool. But I fried an iPhone. I think it might work again. We'll see. So for me, this is a really exciting time. For Mike, it's a really scary time because I have just been looking at our results from the last quarter. We effectively, although we don't announce it, we effectively do a refresh every quarter. I like to think of it as a new set of episodes, a new set of ideas, principles that will work for the next 3 months. And Mike doesn't know what they are yet, but he's probably looking forward to them. Aren't you, Mike? Of course you are. Welcome, Mike Latter, to the stage. Lovely to see you. You're looking
Lovely to see
more
you too,
handsome than
John.
ever.
Over the pond, in over the pond land.
We are.
All right. Why are you breaking iPhones on a Friday?
Well, I
Tell
do
everybody.
like to do mad things, as you know, on a Thursday, and then it tends to roll over onto your Friday. So let's step a little bit back, shall we? Let's talk about the history of all we've been doing for the last 6 months. So we started completely mad in September, and then we did all these. We started the show, and you thought that'd be cool, and then I just kept adding more things and just stacking up stuff, and it just got madder and madder. Yeah, and the first 3 months were really just, oh my God, what can we throw at the wall, make stick? What can we actually do that doesn't then mean that we can't get our day jobs done at the same time? Yeah.
Right.
And then for the next quarter, we started being more organized in what we were doing, and we started to get a system. Production studio has been a godsend. I think you would agree.
100%.
But this quarter, I want to try and push another boundary. I want to push into more clever things, and production studio is fantastic, but looking at all the tools we have, there is still a really big difference between a simple production studio and maybe a bit of vMix or Mimo Live or Ecamm or A10 Minis or whatever. That's sort of the, shall we say, the $1,000 sort of boundary, up to $1,000. There's quite a lot you can do, but it's still very static. You can bring in more devices, you can bring in more cameras. I could flip to my other camera angle, you can flip to your camera angle. We can have multiple devices, but it's still a very, very flat experience. And to go to the next level is really hard. You need a complete redo. Now, we've played around with some of the ideas on that, and that's what I was hoping to show you today. So we took, in a few of the recent episodes, we've taken flat 2D images, but we've tried to build them into some sort of perceived to be 3D environment. So we might have a stage, and we might have a green screen, and we might have a video wall that we'll make by superimposing stuff. And when we played around with the images on, I think we used the vMix for it, we were able to use the X, Y, and Z axis to turn the images so they looked a bit more 3D. They looked like they were side on. Do you know what I mean? And I was going to try and show you how you can go to the next level. The good news is there's some quite clever stuff now. I have an iPhone. I have the remains of an iPhone, which you position it in 3D space by using a marker. And then because it's so clever in knowing it's being tilted, etc., it actually can then report its own position, its own angle to a piece of software. So you can move it in 3D space. And obviously the camera image changes in 3D space, but it's clever enough to be able to know where it is and report back. Now, last time I tried to do that, you needed these great big 3D things. You needed base stations. You had to triangulate, and you had all this, and it was $1,000, $2,000 before you started. But it does seem now that the market is starting to think of simpler ways to do it. And if that happens, then that gives us, well, I don't think we can get true 3D. I'm going to try, but I think true 3D is going to be hard. But 2.5D would be, I think, a game changer. I think, with all due respect to all these video mixing tools at the moment, they're still mixing a static 2D space. They're just mixing a 2D space with more images and overlays and lower thirds, which looks cool and is really good. But to move to 2.5D, where you get that feeling that you're in a 3D world, I think the technology is almost there, but it's a big jump. It's an enormous jump if you go to the level that other guys do. I mean, we've been in contact with VizRT. Yeah, other 3D systems are available, but they've got a cool one. And I was actually on LinkedIn talking to a engineer, design specialist. Anyway, the BBC got a model of the XLS, or whatever they call it, the ELS, the new rocket that's just sent the astronauts off to the moon. And they literally got a model of it, a 3D model of it. And they did some 3D graphics where they could zoom in and zoom out on this model to explain it all, and then produce this content about it. And I was pretty blown away by what they were able to do and get access to, and compare that to, well, you're old enough to remember, but compare that to the black and white pictures of the moon landings last time round. It just shows how technology has changed in 50 years. Maybe in 50 years it should have changed, but it's changed to such a level that they're able to get a model of the launch rocket and the cabin, and then have a camera flow in and flow out, and then superimpose using it with a green screen, which is pretty old technology now in a way, but to superimpose the presenter into that environment so they can then talk to people. It's tantalizing, it's tempting, and it's close enough that you can do it. But unfortunately, with my iPhone, the iPhone remembering where it is and sending a video, because you have to have a dongle plugged in so you go straight through the network, because otherwise you would get latency issues. But that worked really well, and I was blown away how easy it was, and I was also blown away how quickly the iPhone started heating up when it just a little message going, "I'm getting a bit warm." That was the sort of message. That was the inkling of the message I got. It's a bit warm in here. And then the next thing I know is it's shutting down because it's overheating, and I have to shut it down. But that brings us to this quarter. So I think you do a great job with Production Studio, but what I aim to do through these next 3 months is to take some of that software, and we will now bring it in to a 3D world. I'm not sure well, I've got a pretty good idea of how I can do it. So I'm probably going to use a gaming 3D world engine. I haven't decided which one, but I think it's pretty obvious which one I'm going to end up with. And then we will take the 2D products that we have already, the switches and all the other equipment we have, and we will bring that into this 3D world to make what I'm calling a 2.5D type of thing. So we can have a table, and we can have me sitting at the table, and we can bring you in and put you into that world. Although you'll be 2D, we'll be able to do that. We can take advantage of the multi-cameras we have, which allow us to give different angles, but they're fixed cameras. So you can build, and I've already worked through all this, so you can build a view of what your 3D world looks like from one angle. And if it's a fixed camera, that camera just needs to know what the background's going to look like. There's a camera over there, it needs to know what the background looks like to it. And then it's plausible. And if you can then mix in, and this is what I believe is the brain trick. If you can mix in when it works properly, iPhone, for instance, as a camera, or to put it more simply, a camera that can move in the 3D space and still look correct, then it makes it easier to fool you from the static cameras that were in a 3D world. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I'm intrigued to see where this goes, John, so that we could see how we can still, because again, of course, Zoom is still going to limit us, and of course, YouTube is still going to limit us to the 2D world, but as much, because again, we're not going to have 3D glasses on or have everybody invest in 3D type hardware. But again, our environment, you're going to turn our environment into a 3D environment.
Yeah. You look at TV shows, they usually have a couple of cameras, and the cameras move, and they have a stage. But as you know, probably better than all of us, lots of elements in those productions are superimposed images from green screens. If it's a football show or an NFL show or a soccer show, our soccer show in the UK does it, uses VisIT, because I know the BBC have got all the equipment. They've got a bigger budget than me. Baseball guys use it. Grand Prix guys use it. They might build the main physicality of the chairs and the tables that the guys who are going to be doing the presentation sit around. But usually most of the stuff behind them is just green screen, and it's then being superimposed, because I suppose gone are the days now when you can afford to kit out a studio for a TV show that goes out once a week and leave it empty for 6 days a week, when you can spend a bit more on some 3D manipulation software and green screens. And you can have, even Linus Tech Tips, I think, Linus Media Group is starting to use green screens. So instead of having that one studio that's, as I say, it only works perhaps 1 day a week and is empty the rest of the week, now you just need to change the desks that they sit around and the chairs, and all the background is a green screen, and they just superimpose, or whichever way around it is, superimpose the people into the background of that particular show. And when that show finishes, they can get those desks out, bring in the desks of the next group of people, superimpose the new show background, and record again.
Yeah. And again, that is quite, that is quite common in the production world, is to have one studio that you're physically moving in certain sets. Now we're getting down to the word sets, because now we're setting, it's a set of specific equipment that we need for the shot. And then now we're playing with the 3D depth in your mind, John, is going to be you're tricking our eyes in the background to actually have that bringing us into that 3D world of, oh, those people at the desk are, maybe in a special big room, but yet the room could be a 10 foot by 10 foot, size. And it could be that the physical people aren't even in the same room, which is what we're going to try as well.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Beam you in. Because if you have them set out in the right way, if you have multiple camera shots and the camera shots are not the same background, they're the background from that angle, from that point of view, our brains will think, yes, he's over there, so the background's slightly different. That would be logical. And they don't have to be perfect, because nobody's going to know exactly where that camera was in 3D space, but it just needs to look slightly different. The background needs to have moved, rather than just being a flat background that doesn't change for anyone. And then suddenly you've just got something more interesting.
Right. And again, it's the fluidity of it. That would be a big thing. It's the, again, if your eyes are starting to go, I'm not starting to believe that, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
That's having
the trick.
Yes. And that's where I believe, having a 3D object that actually physically moves, that gives you that extra, as you say, that extra feeling that, oh, wait, maybe, I don't know, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but now your brain's not quite sure whether you are or not. And I'm on my Mac Mini at the moment. I'm not running Rooms. I'm running normal Zoom on this Mac Mini, and I've been looking at what software I can put on to this machine so it can contribute to that world. So I've got, what have I got? OBS. I've got Mimo Live. I've got Ecamm. I've had to play around with all three of them. I've had quite a long play around with OBS, but I've had a play around with the other two as well. And they are video mixers. And I think they are both quite capable of, as you say, creating something so we could beam you in. So you could be a video source that we could put into this 3D environment, because you're remote from me. You're not going to be physically sitting next to me in the desk, but we can bring in an image of you and drop it in some way, and we could bring in people from other places. So rather than you providing your own background, we would pick you up, put you into an environment, and we would make the background suitable for where you are in the world.
Right.
So I'm just pushing the boat out even further and challenging us all to do something more interesting this quarter. And I want to see. I'm not saying that I can replace $10,000 of hardware and $40,000 of software in VizRT's case. But with a couple of good quality gaming production type computers, I can probably do a lot more than people think I can do, if you know what I mean. I can take these exciting 2D video switching applications and drop them into a 3D world as little transparent bits in the world. I think we can make some really interesting stuff work. And that doesn't mean I don't want to look at using the TV over there as a background. So I don't have a video wall. I just have a TV behind me as a video wall. We'll see what we can do with those things. I was on a meeting.
You could easily, put yourself in front of a 3D type image. And again, if it had, and the kicker would be, so it's a 3D image would be the first part. Then the next step would be, okay, making it a loopable, believable 3D image behind you in the TV.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I was fascinated to see what you can do with things like these as a device to give you that to give feedback to the software of what the 3D world is. So if I have a screen behind me, as you rightly say, if I have a screen behind me, I don't really want it to be a static TV shot of a studio. I want in some way to be able to manipulate it so I am perceived to move, or I move my head that way, and the screen will then decide that the camera is now coming from another angle and will move the background with me, so that it will look like I'm standing in a 3D space, not in front of just a picture.
Yeah,
apart from that, we're not going to do much.
Yeah, and again, of course, as we're doing that too, we're going to talk about production stuff too.
Yeah, because the whole thing about this at the moment, and I've I actually was on a meeting with some Zoomies, some quite high up Zoomies, and they was, basically saying asking the question, what do you do in a meeting? What do you do in a webinar that just makes it more than people turning up and, not, this is what really got me onto this, A person, I'm not going to say who they are, but a person put on LinkedIn that they thought that they would go to all their meetings from now on with the camera off. Because all they did when they went to those meetings with the camera on is they looked at themselves. Which I personally believe is wrong on so many levels.
I agree with you. It's again, it's the, I've been into it. It's the infamous, I'm forgetting what people have actually come up with. There is a Zoom related terminology, I believe, that people are using now. Oh, Zoom fatigue. There it is. Zoom fatigue. So it's the infamous Zoom fatigue that has come into play now, that all of a sudden, nobody else is putting on their camera, so why should I? Or everybody's got their camera on, but nobody's looking at everybody's got their camera on, but nobody's looking at the camera.
No, the only person they look on the camera is themselves.
Right.
They're not looking at the presentation. They're just making sure, they look good. I know I look ugly anyhow, so I don't worry about it. Which is, of course, is another reason why we need to, as production people, we need to up our game, because a talking head isn't, get your phone out. You can look at TikTok and all these other things out there now. We're in competition with all of them for our attention, and they're all getting a little more flashy. And if they do a dance at the beginning or something like that, then that is an attention grabber. And we need to, as production professionals, find better ways to grab attention. We're quite cool and we're quite good at doing that on a stage because we've had years and years of experience of doing that. But most of the people do it online. They just do exactly the same they did on stage. They just use a bigger camera and a bigger lens. But they don't really play to the advantage of the device. And yet we've got so many tools. So that is our challenge. Our other challenge is, I think Roland's got a couple of questions to try and catch us out. So shall we see if Roland's got questions that will work into this world?
Absolutely.
Roland, would you like to unmute yourself, sir, and throw in your question?
Hi, afternoon, everyone. Good to join. Quick question, well, a couple things. I don't know, at the start of the program today, is it that it was intentional for the attendees to be here in the discussion? Or
It has always been the intention that people would turn up for those things that they found that were challenging and then throw in their pennyworth as well. So yes, that's why we stream to YouTube for those people that just want to sit and listen. But those people who want to take part, there's always a few seats available in the audience.
Okay, so the webinar just opens up right into it's almost as if when I joined, as soon as I joined, I was hearing everything going on.
Yeah.
That was deliberate. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to understand. I just wanted to know it was a deliberate.
Yeah. Well, Roland, that's a really good point. So, Zoomies, I love you. I do love you, and I know you have busy lives, and it is always entertaining to me that none of your meetings ever start anytime more than 5 seconds before they're supposed to, because you're living in that world. But when you're running webinars and events, if Mike and I can get ourselves organized, we will open up the audience earlier, because crikey, What do they do on a TV show? I mean, they even do it on a porn show as well, don't they? Have a fluffer.
Okay,
But-
I just try. Okay, so my
but
question
yeah,
is, that's a
Carry
good
on.
point. But I'm just trying to remember if it is. I mean, I'm just looking at the experience because I mean, it's been a while since I've joined. I think I came onto 1 or 2 programs sometime probably last year, late last year.
Yeah.
And what? But is it the experience in terms of that waiting room just before you log on that waiting room to see what's happening? So I started waiting on the host to join. Then I sort of expected that there would have been, if you want to call, something to say we're about to get started, and then we would get started. Or it was almost I was thrown in. I was like, okay, have I come on too early? Are these guys ready? I was like, okay, especially given the setup here with events, webinar style thing. So it was just an experience. It just had different.
And I don't know what the perfect answer is for that, and I have a feeling the answer is going to be, it depends on your audience and it depends on your event.
Right.
But if you have an event, it is better to try and get it connected before you officially go live. Because maybe I've had speakers stranded in the attendees thing because they just registered for the event and didn't realize we'd sent them a panelist invite.
Oh yeah, that happens regularly. Yeah.
I've had people that have come on and they've asked a question. I've gone, crikey, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, and you make use of them. So it depends how you do it. But Mike likes me to go live on YouTube, and for the main shows it does work. So the audience on YouTube don't tend to know what's going on pre-show because we only really go live with them when we're about to go live. Right. Yeah, the attendees that come into the room and join us in the room, they get a chance to be there early, and I think it's something. I don't think we've got a perfect answer of how to do it yet. But yeah, I think it's a way. It's something that we need to all think about, because it's another type of audience. You've got your sit on their backside and listen to you group in YouTube or wherever you stream it to. You've got your panelists who, we often go off on a tangent chatting about ridiculous stuff before we even open the show to everybody else, because we get a place when we start this event. Mike and I and then whoever else is on the stage with us get the place to ourselves to start with. Then we can open it up to the audience. So we let you guys in, and then we really letting you guys in earlier is something which I want to try and consciously do. But sometimes, as today, I had another event which was running over, and I was trying to escape out of that one to get to here. I mean, I would never have escaped out of that one because she's a lovely lady I was speaking to, but they'd get them going and get your audience in, and maybe there's people that want to join you, etc., and then you've got the ability to go live. And
right, second thing, an observation now, is it your order doesn't seem to be in sync to the point that I saw that see it. Is that a production student issue, or is that a issue with you? You are?
What's not sync?
You're not quite in sync. I mean, normally you don't even pick it up, but today I was picking it up that I'm seeing your lips, then I'm hearing the audio. I think if you talk again.
I'm trying to work out what my throughput is. So at the moment I'm going from a video camera into an ATEM into Zoom. And then my audio is coming through a Shure into a Rode Podcaster 2 and then into Zoom. So I wouldn't expect there to be any great delay between the two.
Yeah, there is a slight audio first, then the video is coming in after. I picked it up. I just thought I'm not sure where that is happening for you. I mean, I didn't quite see it with Mike. Mike, I don't know if Mike wants to talk again, but I wasn't seeing it with him, but I was seeing it with you from you came on.
So I'll throw myself in here too. So am I in sync, Roland, for you?
Yeah, you are definitely basically. I'm not noticing anything off, but definitely with John, I'm noticing something. I mean, it was sort of obvious. I wasn't looking for it. You just saw it. So I was just wondering if that's a production studio thing, or it just might be something else.
Again,
Uh,
yeah. So as you're looking around, John, I'll talk to Roland about this, which is, and I'll just do this and do that, and then I'm here, and here I am. So basically, what Production Studio is going to do is that it's not going to add latency. It might add a little bit of latency from
yeah,
what you are in the actual room. Like, so as an attendee, you guys are seeing what Production Studio is showing, which is classified as a 10D view. Now, there is a bit of a delay between what John and I are seeing as panelists and attendee view. But what you are seeing as attendee view, what you and John Nicholson are seeing as attendee view is if we have the delay before we come into Production Studio, or if we have a delay before we come into the actual, in this case, Webinar Plus, then that's our end. That's our tech end that is adding that delay between the audio and video. Because as you notice with me right now, as you're seeing me, am I out of sync or no?
That's an interesting thing. Now, once you came full screen, you could see a slide out of sync. Once you came full screen, when you were in the smaller screen, it seemed that you were not. But I mean, it's slightly. I mean, it's not anything overbearing. It's just that it sort of picked it up. That's all. Maybe my eyes see too many things, but.
No, that's interesting because, see, again, for John and I, we could check ourselves as much as possible backstage because we also have backstage. So we would check ourselves in that regards. And then of course I do my own checking before I join, and then we do our checking backstage to make sure that once, Zoom hasn't done anything to us. And then from there we go into, I start getting Production Studio ready, get all the themes ready, and then we go from there. So if there's any added latency per se, so you're saying that if I'm over here talking, then you're telling me now that there's no latency.
Yeah, well, no, now I'm looking close. I'm seeing that it wasn't obvious what's there. I don't know. It's a very interesting thing.
Well, I know my machine's not doing too well. Because I can't hear a word you say anymore. Because I have, as I said, I have Mimo Live and Ecamm, and I think Elgato Wavelengths just popped up, and it's killed all my audio. Oh dear.
We're hearing you. We're hearing
green
you.
Audio thing's going up and down, so I know you can hear me.
Yeah, we're hearing you. Okay.
Exactly where the output's gone, I don't know.
That's interesting.
That's fine. That means I can just talk for the rest of the show as I can't hear anybody, and no one will be able to interrupt me because I won't hear them. There we are. So that's my solution here. Just install another device.
And this is where it gets down to the point of having too much tech can cause you that much fun too.
I can't hear you, but I know exactly what you're saying. So yeah, I agree totally.
Hilarious.
Where's the remove button? Put it in the bin. That removes it. Well, that only removes it in the dock. That won't stop it working.
Yeah. So again, it's all those individual layers that will also hurt you as well.
Oh, apparently I've got an XLR dock as well. You see, this is the thing that really annoys me about all these things. Every time something gets plugged in, it gets rooted and it takes control, and then the next thing takes control, and then the next thing takes control, and you don't know what's in control.
So you're still not hearing us?
I mean, you should be coming through my Mac Mini speakers, but I can't hear a word. Isn't that funny? Main output. Ah, here we go. I can hear you now, can't I?
Check, check.
That's now. Check.
Yeah, I see.
That's leftover Elgato from last week's show, John.
Yeah, well, it wasn't running, and then I did something wrong, and it launched, and that was it. It came along and redid things. I have to say, all these little apps are really good, but I don't think any of them have been designed to work with any others. Yeah, they all want to really hog the limelight themselves, and as soon as you start another one, I worry now if I click on an Ecamm button, it won't try and take over my desktop as well next.
Johnny, don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it on the screen there. It's obviously causing a delay because Roland's here, and I wouldn't be surprised on the delay. But this is the problem we've got now, isn't it? We've got all these. Well, I can't call them cheap because they're quite expensive, but we've got all these sort of under $1,000 type apps and equipment, and they're all trying to do a reasonable job at making things work, but they've all got shortcomings. And of course, they're not production tools, as in the production world, who are used to interfacing and plugging into other things. And they are, how can I put this politely? They're a little bit arrogant sometimes in the way they pop up and take control of devices because they think they're helping you, and they are helping you. But if you install any other software, God help you with the trying to get the two to work together. So the guy who just started an Elgato program and lost his Ecamm. You know, that's just the way it goes. Did you have another question, Roland? Because you did say you had a couple.
Well, I mean, I was listening to you talk about the production options and the things that, for example, what BBC did and what, I mean, other persons have done. But the question though, do you really feel, I mean, you talk about a number of machines to get to basically do a similar thing. Is it that you are the odd one out trying to do something like that? The one person trying to make all of that happen? Rather than a team in place to do that?
Well, if there was a team of people, they would still be trying to achieve the same thing. There is definitely a mood in Zoom users, and I think generally that we're at that tipping point where people have had enough of COVID, and it's amazing how long it's taken people to get over the situations they put themselves in and the way they worked. COVID is quite a few years ago now, and we all work from home, and then a lot of people kept all those habits of working from home and trying to sort of extend the COVID rules, so to speak, to their new real world. And now I know people that were selling from stage, shall we say, marketing from stages, doing events in large events in, you know, Heathrow or you know, some major conurbation where they can get everybody to turn up to come to their event face to face. They'll pack out 100, 200 people in a room and they'll promote something, sell something or whatever. All of those people went online during COVID. They then found it difficult to go back to going face to face because, of course, they got used to the fact that it was cheaper to do it online, and paying for all the venues has got more expensive.
Accommodation, venue,
yeah.
Right.
And it's not as though we've gone back to the prices we had before COVID.
No.
All those venues are a lot more expensive now than before COVID. And one of the people I know used to drag everybody down to London, to Heathrow, so people could fly in from Heathrow, or they could move, or they could come from anywhere around the country. And as you say, accommodation, stay at Heathrow and be part of a 2, 3, 4 day event. Now that guy is, well, I don't want to say he's given up because that's probably not the way he would see it either. But he's now taking that more as a roadshow, and he's now doing it in multiple towns around the area. So he's going closer to the audience to come to him because he's finding that a lot of the audience don't want to travel that far. Crikey, with the petrol prices now, no one wants to travel anywhere. But he's now trying different ways of getting the physical world. And I think online we've got the same problem. If we just do frankly, if we do a talking head like we are now, it's got to be an interesting talking head, or people will go elsewhere. And adding these other video things and making it more interesting is what we need to do, because we're competing with TV, live TV. We're competing with all these other social media places. If it's without any interaction, then it might as well have been a pre-recorded video.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm seeing is that what seems to be working is, as you said, it's live, it's engaging. There must be engagement of some sort. Whether it's allowing persons to chat, vote, win something, polls, you have to have something, and then you have to be on point, and you have to do what you have to do and get over with it and move on. The persons are not, the attention span is very short or shortened. So you have
Definitely.
to know what you want to present, engage, present, question and answers. You must have question and answers, because if they can't engage, then as you rightly said, it might as well just have a pre-recorded and leave it there and move on. And I think that's what seems to be working. And yeah, I think that's
Totally agree,
basically
Roland. Totally
that
agree.
seems to be working. If you don't do that, then don't bother.
Yeah.
But yes, the issue now with persons continuing much of what the prices. I think part of the problem is the venue pay persons are trying to cap what is it now? They are trying to compensate by charging those who will use the venues even more to cover for the lack of interest from other parties, which is a problem. In Jamaica, I think we're seeing a return to more events, venues. But then what you're finding with some of these events is that some of the speakers that they want to come to the events, they can't afford to bring them. So they end up, you end up sometimes going to an event, a physical event, and then the guests or the key speakers are being brought in via Zoom to be presented on stage. And then there I think sometimes we continue to struggle with the engagement with those speakers, because it's just a different way. You have now come to the venue, you realize that, oh, the speaker is actually not live. And then sometimes the persons who are prepared for the event have not really prepared in such a way to allow the audience to really engage properly with the presenters.
Yeah. And I know a lot of presenters that I have worked with, and they want to see the audience.
Exactly.
They can't exist without that feedback.
Right.
Yeah, they're programmed that way. They've been doing speaking gigs for 10, 20 years. And if they don't have a physical audience there, they can't actually produce. They don't have the mental capacity to do it, because they physically have to see people reacting to what they say,
what they
their
say,
brains
right.
keep going.
Right. Because
And
it's
of
a part
course,
of
if
the
you-
feedback loop. Because
Yeah.
as you talk, you recognize if somebody's understanding or they're not understanding, and therefore you make the adjustments as you speak. So
Yeah, exactly. And if
But
you
they-
have,
they-
as you say, you've got people coming in from a remote place, how are you going to set the system up so that they can see the audience,
correct.
that they're being displayed on a big TV screen, but they still need to see that audience?
Correct. So that they can react and engage. Yeah. So that's something that I think a number of our persons will have to work on and make it happen better. And anyway, so we really have to work on that.
I totally agree.
Yeah, production. But I mean, it's good. I mean, my other question, we will probably talk about it after probably later on, if you're on that other program.
Yeah. Well, we can have a chat after this one closes. That's not a problem.
I mean, it's just the some of the shifting focus apparently at Zoom. I just want to get some clarification on
Okay.
in terms of you seem to have all the contacts, so
yes.
yes.
Mike will be pleased to know that I have officially signed off another show that we'll be doing, thanks to a meeting I had this afternoon. So
Wow, there you go.
But you see, there's two things about the shows that we're doing, and One is I'm doing more shows, but that's because I'm segmenting what we deliver to people in each show. So this show is all about production professionals and the challenges of being a production professional. And what you've been discussing with us is exactly the sort of thing that production professionals need to work on to make this world valuable, so that people do productions, and don't just go back to doing a boring meeting on Zoom and then it closes after 6 months because nobody wants to take part anymore. The other,
Right.
so we do need to up our game to make it interesting and compete and be different to what they do face to face. But also that big challenge is, as you say, is what happens when you want to do it face to face, but you find out certain members of your audience or certain numbers of your speakers can't physically get to the venue. So what do you put in place so that you don't lose that group and all you get are the people that can afford to pay for a hotel and turn up the night before? How do you then cater to them, but also cater to people who won't be able to turn up? And therefore, do you want to lose them for good, or are you going to give them something different, or are you going to get them involved in some way? That is a challenge. And the big YouTube challenge, it seems at the moment, is that you either do long form, intelligent conversation type content, which hopefully we're semi-intelligent here and we're doing the long form content, or you do YouTube shorts. And I've done YouTube shorts even on Zoom subjects. And if I get the right Zoom subject, I can get loads of people watching those clips. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground. I mean, the podcast is trying to do 10 to 15 minutes. I feel sorry for, because there seems to be a limit of 5 minutes, and then people want to go off and do something else, or it's an hour long. And I'm not sure the content in the middle is doing too well, unless it's doing what the other thing YouTube does is I still find if I Google how to do something that I can't do and I watch a YouTube video, it's still more useful to me than trying to get ChatGPT to explain to me how I go through something. A video is just more useful.
Sorry. Yeah.
So that's my third use of YouTube. How do I program my Stream Deck to do X? If I don't know, I can Google it and get an answer out of YouTube. I get a wordy answer out of ChatGPT, which
for me it's the gardening and technology. Yeah. What's happening with your plant? How to plant this one better? How to grow this better?
Yeah,
and then
that's a good example.
Yeah, because the reading ChatGPT and that just seeing somebody do it does it better for me. And then walking through the steps that works better than just going to read an article or even ChatGPT provided an answer for that. ChatGPT, when it's more technical and some things that you want specifics about, then that helps.
So if you did a show about gardening, you just take that to the next level. If all you did was do a show where I just came on and told you, it's the boundary between spring and summer, these are the things you need to look out for, this is what you need to do, then that would be a TV show, a YouTube. That would be, why did you bother turning up? I would need to, as a gardening show, I would need to do the TV show explanations, but I would need to give you, the audience, a chance to interact and ask the questions.
Right.
Otherwise,
yeah, and some things that the context needs to be there, because for gardening you couldn't just come on and talk to me. I would just switch. I just find another video. I need to see you talking to me, but demonstrating as you talk to me what you're talking about. The springs, that can be like a little introduction line, but that can't be it. It really has to be, this is how you're going to grow your lettuce. This is what you need to look for, and we're going to walk through that today. And you walk me through that. That's fine, intro. But after that, it has to be real practical demonstration. If you want to tell me that you have a booklet or something to download at a particular URL, if I want additional details and then fine, that's fine, that can work. But for me to watch you, it has to be action, something has to be happening, and it has to be demonstration in that particular case context. I've also watched a couple of things I think that is important. This whole thing about presentation, and you'll probably know, where I've been able to watch some things where someone it's basically narrated, but the use of the graphics were just so good because again, it's demonstrating exactly what they're talking about, highlighting the key points, talking around it. And I've not seen a face, just a voice. But just because the supporting graphics and the key points being pulled out was so good, I was able to listen, watch the entire thing, to my surprise. I mean, so it tells me, but I noticed that that's something I noticed has been happening, that if it's like that, I can do it. But just somebody sitting there rambling, no, that's out. That's definitely out.
So I'm gonna let a little secret out. So I was having a conversation with Azumi today, and we are looking at the possibility of running a show for the community, for the Zoom community. So we were looking at the new community forums because we've changed platforms, and we were looking at what's possible to extract data out of the forums to find out what the common questions are, to try and analyze what the community forums questions are at the moment, so that we could then have a show probably once a month for now. We'll see how it goes. And we would then address those sort of questions, and then maybe the audience would come in with more recent questions, and we could then answer those live as well. So it's those types of shows that answer questions, and as you say, give you the solutions to things, but you're not you're demonstrating things or showing things or asking the audience, do you think this is what I believe the answer is, but does anyone have any other suggestions that can make this better? I think those types of shows are useful.
Definitely.
I mean, I don't mind name dropping Test Kitchen. Test Kitchen, in a sarcastic description, would be a bunch of zoomed out people who just want to have a rant about what they've just done in Zoom or what they can't do in Zoom, and they have a rant for an hour and a half, and between them they solve problems with Zoom. And that's, I mean, it's not the most polite, but that's effectively what happens on Zoom Test Kitchen, and it's a really valuable show for what it does, because we do have a large range of people from different walks of life and different jobs and different uses of Zoom in their daily lives, who can then chip in things from different angles. And sometimes, one person's usage blows the mind of the rest of us, because we go, oh, I never thought of that.
There you go. And sometimes you get some left field questions that you just like, oh, wait, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. But yeah, but I mean, every show has it. I mean, show has its upsides, downsides. But you're right.
And I think that's probably a good comment to make, because we're not all stuck in COVID. We're not all desperately looking for something to keep us entertained, and just doing a general show about generally nothing is not going to cut it today. You've got to be specific about something. You've got to have something that gives some specific value to people or inspires them to go and do stuff, but it's got to be focused. And if it's not focused, it doesn't work.
Right. But even using Zoom Test Kitchen as what you said, I mean, and even with yours, I mean, I find that when the topics are clear and focused, what's going to be discussed, you notice the numbers at Zoom Test Kitchen go up significantly. Once it's either somebody's coming to describe something, or there's going to be a specific thing that you're going to be looking at. People show up. When it's just it tapers down to your core. You're showing off.
Yeah, but that's the example, isn't it? The new Stream Deck comes out, and I flashed it at the beginning of the show, and everybody started talking about it, and as you say, it started a conversation about something.
Right. So It's good. Good. All right. Well, I think you're past your hour. I've spoken, and Mike has been very quiet today.
Couldn't get a word in edgeways.
I have.
Yes, you've been unusually quiet today.
Nah, I'm good. Again, you guys have said everything correctly. That I am of the same opinion of what you guys have been talking about. So there was nothing to interject. So I'm good. When it comes to, and again, different shows will have different themes. And again, John and I are being more specific when it comes to themes, where Zoom Test Kitchen can be a lot of times open. And, what problems have you run into this week? That is basically Zoom Test Kitchen in a nutshell of, oh, I did this, or I had an event that did this and I couldn't do this, or I did this wrong, or I did a variation of that. And again, our production show that we're doing here, John and I are more focused on, it's good that you're using Zoom, but we're talking about what the gear and such you're using before you bring it into Zoom. Right? So you can bring it into anything, as you know, Roland, working for a large television company in Jamaica, that you could bring any video and audio into anything. So this is more where this show is more based on, okay, if you need tech help on, the ATEM's not doing something right, the video switcher's not doing something right, or I tried to do this, but I couldn't bring it into that, and again, we will be, this show will be more non-specific to Zoom, but it will still have Zoom elements into it because, Zoom is the ideal platform to bring your content into in most cases. But again, it's up to your client and it's up to your use case, right? So in Roland's situation, being at the television station, he could easily have remote guests come in using Zoom and then be able to bring that into the TV show of choice. So that, again, we will be talking about, okay, what gear does Roland need? And what gear does Roland need potentially even at the actual location where that person is, right? So that person could be, anywhere from, Montego, all the different locations in Jamaica. And you just need to make sure that they are in a nice, let's say, hotel room or a small banquet room or such, where you've actually sent, some sort of production kit to them. You've walked them through what that kit actually can do for you, or what that kit will actually, you set up the kit for them, and then you could actually bring that person in from, as you're saying, anywhere. Or you have a list of, as long as you have this official equipment like this, then that's our suggested equipment when we are interviewing you for the show, or when you're a guest on the show, or again, depending on the topic, or as you're saying too, where people were bringing people into the banquet halls nowadays again, or the banquet rooms. So again, what kit do I need that person to have so that they are presentable when I put them up on that large LED wall or projection screen or TVs, as we did last week, Johnny, with you on your TV event, that had 2 TVs, the same situation. It's all in the end content, but we're not, and this is where John and I are going to focus with this show, is when you're not taking enough advantage of looking good on camera and sounding good on camera for the most part, to get that perfected so that you can actually then plunk yourself into any type of situation. And this is why, when it comes to Lord Zoom and also Zoom Test Kitchen, when it comes to me, you don't know which venue I'm in, but yet I've come from 3 or 4 different venues because I have the same kit in all the 3 or 4 different venues, and I can run in there at any time and be up and running in 15 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm on the show, right?
And
So-
you mentioned hybrid in what you were talking about, Rowan, about bringing people remotely into a physical stage, and
Right.
hybrid has been a real disaster.
It has
There
been.
are some really good people out there who can do some fantastic hybrid, but there's a real shortage of quality organizations, whether they be companies or in-house or external people. There's a real shortage of people with the expertise who can take a online production and then tie it into a physical production and produce a hybrid experience. There is a great shortage of people to do that. And most people doing it are doing it with a ridiculous amount of kit because they are so short in the number of people that can do that, that those people can afford to just say, okay, well, we're just going to do the 100K, the 50K, the 100K events. We're just going to do the expensive ones because there's enough demand out there for those sort of things. We can then buy all the most flashy and exciting kit that we ever need because we've got a big budget now, and we'll just run all of those. And the people that want to do a 10, 20K type event, there's nobody left to produce for them. So we've got to inspire and train a whole new generation of people into that world. And they've got to have the world. I mean, in a way, if you're the guy in the middle, Roland, in this shot, and that would probably be it. You see, I know probably more than I ever need to know about the online world of Zoom, and Mike at the other end knows all the physical equipment. Well, we've got to make solutions now that tie those two together for somebody in the middle like you to be able to get the right kit. And as I was saying towards the beginning, a lot of this low value kit is not very good at talking to other low value kit. So the is actually at the other level, at the top level, they've got the integration and they got it all working because they've been doing it for years. But at the lower level, the video switches on software based are actually sometimes quite hard. And just this little pop-up thing called Elgato, which is just decided to, when it pops up, it decides that it's going to be the router for all my audio signals flying around in my machine. And it then literally takes control of, right, I'm going to control the microphone. I'm going to control the speaker. And if you want to send audio between those and any other devices, you're going to have to come through me.
You have to talk to me.
Yeah. And suddenly everything else that's set up breaks. So poor little Zoom is looking for an audio signal that it can't get hold of anymore. And Ecamm and the other ones, every one of those that I turned on grabbed the video, grabbed the audio, and grabbed the speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't dare now do it. If I turned on my little earbuds, I know that they would then pop up, and Apple would go, "Oh, it's the earbuds. Oh, right. I'll direct all the audio to you, and I'll take the microphone from you, and I'll patch that out into everybody else." And next thing you know, my Shure microphone would stop working.
Yeah, it does. Again, this is why I've made my studios, shall we call it, cookie cutter, right? So I can turn a couple of switches on, get the computer going, make sure Zoom is running, or Teams or WebEx. It doesn't matter for me because I've got all the software installed and I'm ready to go, right? So I've got all the three big boys ready to go: Zoom, WebEx, Teams. Audio and video, yes. Are they different environments? Yes. Am I going to get less quality in certain ones and better quality in others? Yes. Obviously, that's why we're using Zoom today for obvious reasons, because it's got the best quality out of the three, in our opinion.
Exactly.
So when it comes to Teams, the other scenario too is that, Teams, as we've heard for a lot of people on Zoom Test Kitchen, as well as in our communities, is that it falls apart quickly at the production level. Right. WebEx is sort of the middle ground of it's good, but, right? So there's the infamous but. Go, Johnny.
And if you take that all to a venue, you've got to make sure that you can set it up in minutes, because venues don't give you time unless you book the entire venue for the whole day. But a normal venue at the lower level, which is where there's more need than anything, there's probably going to be three, you know, there's going to be a morning, an afternoon, and an evening event. And you're not going to have more than perhaps half an hour to set all your equipment up and solve all the problems that are there. So you need it to be almost working out of the box, but you don't know how good the network's going to be when you get there. I've turned up to one venue, which is the one we featured last time. I've been there 4 times. My venue organizer has been there. I think she's been going there for about 8 years. We haven't been there once. We only turn up once every 6 months, but every time we turn up, the equipment's changed. In that we have exactly the same room every time. The equipment's always changed. There's another TV, there's not another TV, there's a projector, they change the sound system. You just don't know what's there. So you turn up with the equipment and you've got to unpack it all and you've got to integrate with the venue straight away. And all these venues have they have a reasonable sound system. They have maybe a few cameras. And you've got to integrate with them because you're not some top range pop star who's turning up with her own speakers and her own sound team and her own cameras. You've got to integrate with what's in the venue because the people are paid money for that venue, and the venue has told them they've got a sound system already. Oh, you don't need cameras. We've got 2 cameras on the wall. You can connect to those. And that's a big challenge. I think in a way, it's almost a bigger challenge for the people at that level because you've got to work with other stuff that you've been given.
But is it a issue that okay, so I know there's a cost issue, but sometimes is an issue that we have not been able to sell the organization the value of
Definitely.
Going the full gamut.
Yep. And this is actually really, really common. And I've run into it. Yes, I'm going to use the D word. Hold on. Here it is. Decades of this. It's not been limited to the Zoom world or, I've had this back in the days when I was just a DJ going, why do I need to have you come in and bring all these extra lights in? Because the venue already has bought the lights and they want me to use the crappy lights that are in the venue. And I say to them all the time, I said, well, have you made sure that the lights will work the day of the event?
Yeah.
The answer is not my problem. It's the venue's problem. But is it really the venue's problem?
Right.
Because then all of a sudden that event now becomes the situation of, and again, this is where, and I'll go down this road a little bit. There's event coordinators, right? And there's also wedding, I'm trying to remember the right terminology for them, but the wedding industry also has event coordinators for wedding planners. Thank you. Yeah. So the wedding planners are specific on, they want this theme. They want everything to work. They want you to do your portion, not any more, not any less. They want you to be able to do this. And if that it also includes them cheaping out and also using things at the venue, then now your job is now to make sure that the venue doesn't let you down when you get there. But is it? No. See, this is where I've learned over the decades of even DJing to bring my DJing experience where I've done thousands of weddings and dealt with many bridezillas and also wedding planner zillas, shall we call them, that are basically, no, you must start at 1 o'clock. We're doing the dance as of 7 o'clock, not 5:02, not 5 after. And you're playing this song at 10 after. And you're not allowed to talk until I tell you can talk. And you're basically become as they call it in the DJ world, a human jukebox, right? So now you've got, again, it's all about setting, and the easiest way I can say this is setting expectations and proving your worth, right?
Agreed.
If you're not proving your worth properly to your client, unfortunately, that's your own fault. Because what that means is that your marketing of yourself is not telling them that, yes, I am worth $10,000 for this event. I'm worth $1,000 for this event. I'm worth $5,000 for this event. Because again, they will come up to you and trust me, I've had it happen. Day before the event, oh, Mike, the bride really, really wants insert here, but they don't want to pay me more. But Mike, we got to make this happen. How can we make this happen without any money? And I say 9 times out of 10, this is where you have to stand your ground and go, without money, it ain't happening. The wedding planner might be severely upset with you, and Bridezillas will be totally upset with you, but because they'll think you're nickeling and diming them. But to be honest, if it's going to take income away from you to add that extra little feature,
value plus the cost, the additional cost to do it, the use of the equipment, people just have to pay for it. It's value.
Right. So again, but again, they don't take that into consideration because they said, Mike, I hired you to give me a service. They don't care.
Well, that's why
what the gear is.
That's why there are some persons who it's one package, is an all-in-one package. You either take it or leave it, and the package comes with everything.
Right, right, and that's not a bad thing. But here becomes the problem with the package deal too. Yeah, and again, here's what becomes the problem with the package deals too, is that, but I like this package, but I don't want this and I do want that. So they start nitpicking the packages then, right?
No, and I'm saying that's why there's some people who says that you either take the package or you go elsewhere, and the package comes with everything and everything is covered, full stop.
Right.
Because of that similar issue, because they recognize that somebody's some persons do it because as John said, they can do it because they know where they are in the market space, so they know that they can do it. You either take it or they leave it. And there are some persons who are just based on the experiences that you have described. Just know that even though you start here, this is where it's going to land every time. And 9 out of 10 times that what they have experienced is that they started here, and by the time the day of the event, they wanted everything that they said they did want at the beginning.
Right. Right. Yeah. And again, all of a sudden, the expectations that through the multiple meetings that you've had with the client too have been set. But yet all of a sudden, what ends up happening at the end of that too is that, oh, but that's not what I said to you. Is all of a sudden the game that comes into play now. And look at John laughing already. And we're like, oh, no. See this piece of paper? This piece of paper said, I do this, I do that, I do this, and that's your signature, right?
Right.
See, this is the other problem in the production world too, and especially in the DJ world, is that the legalities in their documentation are very wishy-washy. And this is also something that the production world also has run into, especially when you start doing the lower priced, shall we call them cheaper gigs, lower priced gigs, is that the paperwork doesn't appear or disappears, either or, your choice. And what ends up happening there, which is unfortunate too, is that now the production company doesn't have a leg to stand on, because your event could work perfectly as far as you're concerned, but you could have really upset the client because they didn't get what they envisioned. You have to now make sure that their vision of what you're going to do is painted perfectly, because their vision, if it's not painted perfectly, all of a sudden you don't get the check at the end of the night, because they're like, this is not what I hired you for. Comes out of their mouth. But yet you did everything properly. Yeah, good job.
Can do stuff for you, Mike, can't it? And it can paint a picture of what the whole event should be like. But as soon as you turn up, you're the one who has to deliver that vision that you don't even know exists.
Right. Because again, this is where, after again doing this for decades and taking into consideration what I learned in the DJ world of what, I've walked in. So I've had 2 different scenarios, and I'll do them quickly here. So I've walked in as a subcontractor for a DJ company, because I used to do that quite often for a majority of my DJ life. And they would basically give me the contract, give me the venue. And if I've been there before, great. If I haven't been there before, I'm walking in blind. So now if I'm walking in blind, in John's case, he's there at least every 6 months and he's still having problems. So now I'm walking in blind into a venue. It's actually better. I'm better off walking in blind than actually been at the venue before, because now I've set my own expectations of, oh, I was able to do this last time I was there. And as John knows, doing this every 6 months at that same venue, he's walking into a hornet's nest every time he gets there. And that's the unfortunate part about being on site nowadays, is that you lose control as soon as you go into somebody else's venue, right? This is where, again, this show will become very, very important, is that how to deal with a venue that is A, uncooperative, B, might have the equipment, but the equipment is inferior, and C, if it's great equipment, have they actually upkept the equipment? Because now you're walking into that hornet's nest now, that all of a sudden, oh yeah, we've got a camera over here. You find out it's only standard definition because they haven't changed it in 10 years. But it's a camera. See, they've sold it. We've got a camera. And there's other venues that I've walked into that said, oh, Mike, we've got cameras. I said, yeah, where are they? Up there and up there and up there. I said, okay, why do they look like security cameras? Well, they are. I said, what am I supposed to do with those? But yet the venue sells it as they've got cameras, right? Because during COVID, perfect example is we installed cameras. But what they actually did was they actually hired a security company instead of a AV installation company to install that security camera in, and have configured something somewhere to try to make a security camera that does security most of the time, to all of a sudden automatically now be a production professional camera that I'm going to use now for this XYZ event that I just got paid thousands of dollars for. And I'm relating now on the venue, having a security camera actually be my cameras, right? So that takes it to a different extreme. And I know it might be unheard of, but trust me, it is there. The perfect example of this that happened during COVID was funeral homes. They didn't know any better, but they wanted to make sure that people were able to, because of COVID and the lockdown, they still had the funeral services at the actual funeral home in their chapels. So all the chapels got security cameras installed in them because they didn't know it better. It's a camera. As far as they were concerned, camera is a camera is a camera. Well, all of our community knows, is a camera a camera a camera? No. So, again, is it a good thing to have a package? Yes. Is it a good thing to be able to sell that package? Yes. Is it a great thing? But here's the also important thing too, is that, and again, I've mentioned this on the Zoom Test Kitchen, this event that I talked about as well. This was an expensive event for me, and it was an expensive event for the church. And this, again, is a church event that I did. The church normally has, quote unquote, all the equipment, nothing video, but all the audio equipment is built into the venue. Half decent audio equipment, but I asked the event coordinator, I said, so who will be running sound for the event? They said, volunteer XYZ will be running the audio for the event. I said, okay. Can he come visit? The next time we do our next visit, can he come visit us so that I can talk to him about certain criteria that I need for, because again, not only was I video switching, but the big part was that I also had a screen, but I was also streaming it live. And this is decades ago at this point. So I had that conversation. So again, we went away and rescheduled and had another conversation where the audio person volunteer was available, came in. I quizzed the audio person and he said to me, he says, oh yeah, Mike, yeah, I should be able to do that. I said, okay. So tell me what you normally do for the church. He says, oh, I go over here, and when the pastor wants to talk, I hit the mute button and unmute him. And then when I go over here, and all of a sudden, if he's on that podium, I have to unmute that one. So I go over there and I hit that button and I unmute him too. And I said, okay. And what about when the piano wants to play? Oh, when the piano wants to play, I go over to the mute button on the piano microphone and I mute it. And I'm like, okay. So I already saw the skill level was a button pusher, right? But again, now what the event coordinator had coming in was a band, a choir, and was going to be running two podiums plus an altar. So the amount of equipment, and this is not my equipment yet. This is the equipment that the event coordinator was running. So I went over to the event coordinator. I said, would you like to explain to the audio person that you're going to have a band here? And she did. And I could see his eyes just going, whoop. I don't know what to do, was basically what his eyes were saying, even though he didn't admit it. So I already knew that here's the situation. So then, to make sure that the vision of the event coordinator was met properly, because she was flying this band in from all parts of Canada, to make sure that I said to her, I said, okay, because I know half of the musicians were coming from the West Coast. So she was flying these people in, thousands of dollars for a volunteer person that knows how to unmute and mute a button to do church every week. And I said to her, I said, okay. I said, you're bringing in a band. Yes. How many people are going to be in the band? It's going to be a 5-piece band, possibly more. I said, okay. From what I understand, from the little conversation that I've had with this audio person, he's not going to be able to do this. He's not going to be able to handle this. She says, oh, really? He told me he could. I said to her, I said, well, I have a lot of concern that not only will the church not be able to hear the band properly, nor will the live stream.
But is it a case that she gave him all the information? Because sometimes the persons just don't provide all the information. Just saying, there is a band and there is a band. A band can be 3. A band with drum kit changes the story significantly.
Yes, and there was a drum kit involved. Continue, Ron.
So is it that the information is all it comes down to, as the event planner asking the right question and being providing the right information, because
right,
I mean, leaving bits and pieces of information out, you will get an answer, yes, because I mean a band can be 2.
Right.
And if all they're asking the guy to push the buttons for is a guitarist on a keyboard, it's a lot different than 5, 6, and with a drum kit. So the information and perception is so important in providing that. But good that you were there to save the day.
Yes. And again, so just to give you a little more details.
So you ended up being the audio engineer for the day?
I did not. I did not.
Or they got
I did not. So basically my crew ended up growing. So basically what the situation ended up being, long story short, in that situation, so I explained to her, I said, so he's got all the microphones and everything. She, all of a sudden, her eyes started going like this too. And I'm like, okay, your vision is X and your expectations are going to be Y, and you're going to fall apart tomorrow.
I'm a little, because I'm a little surprised also from the band's perspective, because I know many bands that when they're going to locations, they ask specific questions. They ask, do you have the mics? Do you have so-and-so? Is it that you want us to bring an engineer? Some bands even will walk with their own audio engineer.
Right.
Uh,
And you're
to
right.
the point that all they do is patch in their output into the system, because if they feel the system is well enough, because they want to control how they sound. So there are bands that do go to that extent. So the question is, did the band also provide? And I that's why I keep going back to this thing about it. For me, it's everybody in the chain has to be providing all the relevant information for production, or else you get into to lots of. I mean, when I think about production that is important, you really have to have somebody. I think John hinted at it earlier, about somebody who just pays attention to all the details.
And
Because
there aren't enough people like that around.
because a simple thing like, are you going to be having a panel discussion? Do you want head-worn earpieces, or can you use lapels? Do you want handhelds? I mean, I tell you a joke, simple things like telling ladies that if it is that we're going to be using the lapels and we need to add a receiver, you have to wear something that we can put the receiver on. I mean, you just can't come with a long flowing dress. I don't know how you deal with those things, John, when they turn up like that. And they want, at the same time, they want to wear a lapel or a head-worn earpiece. Because where do you put the receiver? I mean, it's a lot of details. You have to really pay attention.
There is such a skill shortage, and there are a lot of people who are calling themselves, and I it's all due respect to them, they're calling themselves experts in doing all this stuff, and a lot of them were press ganged, shall we say? I mean, they were in a group, or they were part of an organization, and COVID hit, and they happened to be the one person that made sense of Zoom, so they are now the person that is supposed to be expert in all these things. So they never had any experience. They fumbled their way through Zoom and got it to work, and they don't understand all these other things. They don't understand delay between audio and video. They don't understand, they don't even understand if their video is mirrored, which direction to point in, as
Right.
Mike was just showing. Yep. And now they're supposed to be looking after this complete event. And there are a lot of people who, again, during COVID, they got their system working. But if they have to connect their system to anybody else's system, or they have to take their system to another venue and connect to another speakers, they're completely out of their depth. And in a lot of cases, of course, they won't want to admit that. None of us do. But if anything goes during the wrong in the event, they're going to be the ones. And you can't ask a guest to fly back from Australia again to re-record their speech because you didn't record it properly the first time.
Yeah.
That's
And what
big
I'll
challenge.
no, and what I'll say, John and Roland, when it came to the actual, so what ended up happening was that my crew initially was myself and three camera people, and the lighting was, thank goodness that the lighting was not what lighting was atmospheric lighting versus concert lighting, shall we call it. So atmospheric lighting. So I basically was making sure that, we had lights coming down on people's shoulders at the podium. We had lights that lit everybody up properly. Again, enough light for cameras compared to the amount of light in the church, and just relying on the light in the church. That's a whole other scenario for a whole other production day. And on top of that too, I was relying on her because she said, "Oh no, Mike, he can do it." And then I went, and I said to her, I said, "Okay, here's the situation." I said, "For what you want to do," because again, just to let you know, Roland, about the band, they didn't give her a rider. And this is what Roland is talking about, which is, I need all this to perform at the venue. Right? So the reason being that this band was a made up band that was coming, that had practiced remotely the night before the venue, and they are all quote unquote celebrity musicians that are in the church world in Canada. So they came from multiple churches, and they are multiple church musicians that they were putting together, because this was the United Church of Canada conglomerate anniversary event that they had brought me into. So they were flying them in from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast into Toronto, which is where I'm based. And the venue was at a very large church. So problem number one was there enough sound in the church? Yes. Reason being is that I brought my audio person on another. So the amount of site surveys that I ended up doing for this one event, I was there 5 times, meeting with the event coordinator. Once with her by herself, which was the initial. The second, and during that one was, okay, so where's the internet connection? And they only had one location where the internet connection was, and it was an old RJ45. It looked like a phone jack on a wall, but an old fashioned box that they brought a wire to, that it was an RJ45. So I had to make sure now I'm running a physical cable all the way from there to where I'm going to be set up. So so I didn't even have an Ethernet connection in the actual church itself, because the actual internet back then was barely in the building, period. So that was the first thing. Was my concern was, okay, meeting with her and finding internet. Because again, the majority of the reasoning I was brought in the first place was supposed to be just to be able to broadcast online. Then it grew to, oh, Mike, well, since you're going to have cameras here, can we show the cameras on a screen? I said, sure. And she said, okay, I want 2 screens. I said, sure. She says, I want them really big. I said, okay, really big. All right. So you want 2 screens and you want them. She says, yeah, I want them on either side of the stage area so that everybody in the church can see everything. I said, great. And she said, okay, I want them to be this size. And I went, so again, the problem that I had with the event coordinator is that she was semi-technical, but she was old school technical, meaning that she heard the lingo before, but she actually never saw it being implemented properly. So she says, yeah, I want 2 9 feet by 12 feet screens on either side of the area. I said, okay. I said, will there be traffic? Because the way that the actual church is set up, there's 2 long hallways running on either side of the actual stage. And I said, will there be any people running up and down these hallways? She says, oh yeah. I said, well, then I can't have 2 screens. She says, why? I said, I have to put the projector in the hallway so that I can actually have the screens that are 9 feet by 12 feet wide be able to be shown properly in the venue. Oh no, Mike, you don't have to do that. Now she's telling me how to do my job. So again, so this event coordinator was a very nice person, but again, she knew enough to be dangerous. And so that's the example on that. So that was my initial stuff with this. So again, at 5 visits later, and the 5th visit was actually me bringing in my audio guy that I trust. And I said to him, I said, okay, this is the situation that we got here. And I didn't have the volunteer, or did I? Yeah, I did actually have the volunteer come to that 5th meeting as well, because I wanted him and my audio guy to talk. And I had a debrief afterwards of that. Mike, good call. I said back to him, I said, was my gut right? He says, yeah, your gut was 100% right. This guy he knows how to, because he even quizzed him a little bit on a couple of things of asking him, okay, so if I actually tied in and plugged in a couple of things from again, because we're bringing in he was going to bring in his own mixer. So he wanted to tie into the system there. He asked the volunteer, he says, so if I brought in a microphone and plugged it into one of these jacks, do you know how to turn that on? He says, yeah, I can eventually find it. And the situation, of course, too, in this situation was that church was happening. And as John said, I had an hour. Thank goodness there was 4 of us plus me at this particular point, because we went from nothing to everything in an hour live. But again, I had 5 crew. So, 3 of them were my camera guys, but they're also crew in the regards of they had, basically I said to them, I said, okay, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. Then go back to, leave what I hired you for last, basically. So make sure that the screen is set up, make sure that the projectors are set up, make sure that the lighting is set up, make sure that everything in that regard, if the audio guy needs help him. And the long story short too, is that here's the funny part too, is that she promised me X band and X instruments. I show up at the venue, drummer's not coming, but we've got all kinds of other drummers. So now I've got percussionists instead of a drum kit coming now. And I've got this coming instead of that coming now, because they couldn't fly in at the last minute. So again, being flexible, being able to, but in the vision, I still, again, made sure that the vision for her was set properly, and that she understood that if all of a sudden the vision's going to change and she wants something to be prettier or more fancier or more technical, that it was going to cost, right? And that's very, very important for the production industry to make sure that when you guys are actually booking your gigs, is that there's always going to be surprises. And as John found out, going to a reliable, what John thought was a reliable location, again, magically had 2 TVs this time, John, right?
Yeah.
Where last time it was it a projector last time?
No,
Was there
it
even
2
TVs?
TVs, but they weren't connected.
Right. So again, at least this time around, John actually had a cable that he could actually plug into. Yay! 2 points. So again, yeah, so I took the venue out of the equation, and that actually made the event meet her vision because of the fact that I brought everything in to match her vision. And the only thing that I ended up using in the end was the sound system in the venue, because it actually was loud enough and could be tweaked enough by my experienced audio engineer to be able to make sure that the audio and the sound system actually sounded properly for the venue, for the amount, because it was packed. We ended up having the church hold, I think, about 3,000 people. So I had 3,000 people staring at everything that I was doing. And no, I wasn't doing it on stage with them. Trust me. I was hiding. But that's a whole other story about, having production studio and in on stage versus backstage, but that's changed now. Back to you, Johnny. Roland, you have any follow-ups, by the way?
Sorry, I was muted. No. I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. So that was my, again, churches have all kinds of different budgets. Customers have all kinds of different budgets / clients, whatever you want to call them. They have all kinds of different budgets, but again, just making sure that in the end that you don't do more than you're getting paid to do is very hard. But again, also being flexible and being able to work around things, and also have built into your quote unquote quote is contingency, right? So it's not bad to ever have to be able to pad your quote with like 5% for all of a sudden situations that happen last minute, that all of a sudden you need to rent a piece of gear at the end at last minute, because an hour before the event, she says, oh, we're going to have X, or he or she, event coordinator, says, oh, we're going to all of a sudden going to have X. Can you make sure that you bring an extra microphone? But you don't have it. So now you at least have time, and in your budget and in your quote, you're not taking away from your profits, which a lot of production companies will do very easily.
All right.
Back to you, Johnny.
So this now
oh,
this is
yeah.
being run on production studio with backstage and so forth.
Correct.
Okay. So an attendee, this is a production studio studio questions now. So for an attendee, you would move them to backstage, or you move them straight to the webinar if you wanted to. How would that process go?
That's over to you, Johnny.
An attendee, you're an attendee,
Right.
so you're in the audience. So you're not on stage, you're not seen.
Right.
We can turn on your microphone so you can be heard. If
Correct.
you wanted to be seen, we'd have to promote you onto the stage with everybody else, the virtual stage, and then you become
A source.
another person on stage. So you'd be a panelist, as they call it. I was
Okay.
just trying to remember the word. So you'd be a panelist, and then as a panelist, you can be on the stage or you can be backstage. So if you're backstage, then you can see what's going on, but you're not taking part of it. You're on the stage, then other panelists can see you. So I can see Mike and Mike can see me, but you can't see Mike because he's not on the production studio feed at the moment.
Mhm.
So one of the advantages of production studio in Zoom is, you see, if he flicks the scene over, you see now all three of us are on stage. So you're shown on stage because you're participating because you've turned your microphone on. And Mike
Okay.
is now on stage, but if he changes the scene where he's not seen,
Okay, it's because he's in a scene now.
it's
Right.
production studio is like all the other programs. It's like OBS and Ecamm and Mimo Live. It has a set of scenes that you can define, and then into those scenes, it may be a 1-up or a 2-up or 3 or 4 people. It may be a screen share. It may be a video playing,
Right,
like
right.
the
I
video we
understand
played at the
that
beginning.
part. I just wasn't
And you
too
only
sure.
see, so the attendees only see what production studio is producing. And what's important for us, of course, is that the output is also the same output that goes to YouTube. So we also have control that we know that YouTube is seeing exactly the same thing as well. And we've had many discussions before about, showing things and then people on YouTube not seeing it. So the other nice thing about production studio is not only does the audience see what we want them to see, but YouTube also sees what we want them to see. And if I'm not on stage and I want to do, all waving around my hands, if I'm not on stage, no one will see it apart from the other people on stage. So if I want to, Mike and I do hand signals to each other at the beginning and the end of shows when we're running the theme tune, so that I know when it's going to come off and he knows when it's going to come on, etc. So it's a very neat way of video switching without needing to buy an extra video switcher, because Zoom's provided it for us.
Right.
Great.
Right. And again, too, so you could think of it as a semi backstage if you want to, that the attendee view is actually what is really truly on stage when you have production studio on.
But we can be
So,
heard.
And yes, but again, at all times too, and unless you are physically muted, and this is most important, unless you are physically muting yourself, in production studio, cannot tell you to mute or unmute, right? So I can ask you to unmute as a host or co-host, but I cannot, you still have the control of unmuting. Johnny, I'm doing that right?
Isn't that
Right.
okay? But don't you have the option when you're setting up the meeting to ask me to give you permission to unmute, or that doesn't work for webinars?
It
Johnny?
doesn't work for webinars when you have backstage running.
Okay.
So if you enable backstage, you can't enable the feature to allow you to control the on and off of the panelists.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got to think about it as physically, if you're physically on the stage, then your mic is live. Right. So if you're in a venue where you've got a lav on, or you've got a, lav or over the ear or some sort of microphone that you're holding, and you're starting to walk on that physical stage, it's live, or at least it should be if the audio engineer is doing their job properly. That's a whole other story too. But yes, so you're walking on stage, and yes, the audio is live. And in the case of Zoom and in production studio, you're live. So even when I have John full screen, YouTube is still hearing you talk and make comments, no matter if I have you up on screen or not.
Because it's a video switcher, not an audio switcher.
Right. So again, Roland, you can talk now, and you'll
But
see
they
what.
can only see my face move because
Right.
I'm the only one on stage, and Mike is just a very intelligent voice off.
Yeah. So I'm back here, but yet you notice they didn't change anything. Did it now? If we're in regular meeting, what would it do? It would have changed by now.
Unless you're
AKA
spotlighted, unless you had spotlighted the particular
Right.
user.
Right. But isn't this a prettier spotlight?
No, not sure.
Really?
Yes, it is better.
We
This
can
is better.
mute you
This
as
is
well,
better.
you know that, don't you?
Yeah.
So the official answer from Roland is he's picking on us a little bit, I think, and say yes. But
Yeah.
yes, there is a lot to be said about this too, because again, I could take this off and then all of a sudden, oh, we don't like Roland saying that comment to me. So now officially we got Mr. Idelson instead. Hello, Mr. Idelson. And then we're coming back,
Yes,
and then all of a
John is
sudden,
still on. He's been quite okay.
Oh yes, well he's working. He's so amazing. He's doing 2 jobs at once.
so there, and you go. So, I didn't have to go spotlight. They all of a sudden get
Okay,
3
so-
people
okay,
spit
right.
either.
So, this is interesting because I thought it was so you could still go to a 2-up if you wanted, but now
Yeah.
you're doing a 3, right?
Right. So again, the same. So again, I'll put up John full screen, and then I'll remove you
Mhm.
out of the same scene. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, now you have the 2-up, right?
Yeah,
because it's a
And you're
3
still
up, but
and,
if it's-
and you're still
if I was
talking.
there-
Look at that. So that
Yeah.
so John and I could actually just have you talk like this because you have no video, but you're
Right.
now a mysterious voice in the background.
But the scenes you said you have to always do them before the show. You can't alter them before. You can only
You
alter
can
the
define the
contents.
scenes before the
Right.
show. You can choose who partakes of the scenes during the show. But before the show, you have to design the scenes you want to use. So you can design the scenes you want to use. And if we're organized, you can then choose who are in the scenes. But
Mhm.
when we're running Production Studio Live, Mike can pull up a scene and then he can change the people. He can't change the number of boxes. He can't change the layout, but he can change the people that are in that scene. So he can use the same 3-up scene with a different group of people. And if he doesn't fill all the boxes, then those boxes don't come up. There's no empty boxes. If a box hasn't got somebody allocated, then that box just isn't displayed. So if he does a 3-up and he only mentions 2 people as he did earlier, just those 2 people will be seen and the third person won't be seen because there's nobody specified. What you can't do is and we got a 4-up as well, you see. So we have these different scenes, but if I haven't designed the scenes and made them available to Mike, he can't make use of them. So you have to specify what scenes you want. It's a good idea to put all the people in because it saves you doing it by hand every time. But the control of when the scene starts and allocating anybody who can be put in or taken out of the scene before it starts is totally available in Production Studio. And there you see he's done a 2-up with the 2 of us, which is not defined. So he's just taken probably a 2-up or a 3-up and just specify the 2 of us in the scene, and he was able to stay off camera.
Yeah. So again, because of the flexibility that I made sure John built in, is that he gave me a 3-up and a 4-up. But again, at any time I can remove and replace people. I didn't know you were joining before you joined. I didn't know that John was actually going to promote you to audio. So that's live on the fly. But again, I've made sure through talking with John going, yeah, if we ever want to have 3 people on, I want a 3-up, so that there's at least John it could be John and two guests without me, or it could be John, guest, and me, like we're doing right now with you. Or this could just be, I could remove John and myself, and this could be just you full screen too, or within the template, or, you know, in the regards of how I have John here as full screen. So that's John full screen there. And what I will do is come back to this triple screen, but I'm actually going to replace John now with active speaker. So Roland knows active speaker. So
Okay,
guess who's
so-
talking now? I'm talking, so you talk now.
Okay, once I talk, the picture would appear.
Right. So now, but
What
again,
happens
that's
to the
not,
active speaker who's not in? Oop, there I am. Amazing.
Mr. Idelson has popped in as well, as I'm currently
But
doing
my
active
camera
speaker.
doesn't appear here. I'm not sure why.
That's because you're still an attendee. You're not actually
Yeah,
on the stage
yeah,
as a
we have
panelist. So
kept
Okay,
us
far.
as
well, that's
attendees, John.
fun. But gentlemen, this was always exciting. I need to go do my day job.
All right.
Take care, John.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
And as you saw, Roland, on purpose, I let John disappear as he left. And this is what it did,
Because this is a 4-up.
because this was a 4-up. Yes.
Okay.
I purposely did that because I was
So
like,
you would now, you'd have to switch to the 3-up scene.
yeah. So if I wanted to make it more aligned properly, instead of this is what Zoom automatically did when John left. So as you can see, it put me here. It didn't really know what order I had it in a specific order of the 4-up, but now Zoom just sort of panicked. And this is what Zoom ended up making as the panic, because that person left at that particular point. But right now, I'm going to go to this so that I can show that. And then for me to come back to that properly aligned like I want them to be, there you go. This is based on the template now. Where
Let's go
the
back to your
template-
comment of lagging. One of the nice things about this product is it's in the cloud. So all our audio and video is going up to the cloud into Production Studio. And Production Studio is actually joined us as a participant. So Production Studio is effectively a participant in the meeting. And Production Studio is outputting the screen that everybody's seeing.
Okay.
Whereas if we used any of the video switches that you run on your computer, all the video has to come down to your computer, get processed, then go back up through the cloud to come back down in Zoom as your video feed. And that's why there are big sync issues with that, because you've got an extra loop in the system. Whereas Production Studio, all everybody's video signals goes to Production Studio, and then Production Studio just sends down everybody at one time. So there's no extra loop back going between people's screens.
Got it.
So I think that's our show. Thank you very much,
Indeed.
Roland, for your contribution and moving the conversation across. We
No
have to find some sort of way to bridge this divide between a few guys sitting on a camera and sharing the odd screen at one end, and what the TV production companies are doing with their virtual studios and 3D animations and all the other stuff at the other end. And if we're going to make things interesting, as Roland said, we need to make things interesting. We need to find ways to make our production tools compelling.
Indeed. All right. Well, take care. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, you too, Roland. Thanks for joining us.
I thought
You're
it was going to take your job away then, Mike.
All right. Is that my segue to? That's our segue. Ah, John wants me to segue to what's coming up next week, John.
Next week. Well, I think next week, the most interesting thing for me that's coming out next week is on our Tuesday show, we are going to talk about Zoom schedule. because I was humbled and honored to have had a meeting with two of the engineers at Zoom that wrote and are writing the Zoom schedule app. And we had an interesting discussion because I had questions from myself, I had questions from the Zoom community, and I had questions from the Zoom developers community who were trying to write apps to work with the schedule. So we had a great talk. I learned lots. They learned a few things as well. And we will talk about it on next week's show next Tuesday. And next Friday, we will start picking apart all these things we've asked about, getting all these apps to work together, and we'll start seeing how well we can get these apps to all talk to each other, and whether it's talking to Zoom, talking to our 3D, whatever our 3D app production engine is going to be, or talking to a venue when we're in a physical space as well. I'll use my big TV screen as a physical venue experience. Let's see what we can get to work properly so we can make our production more interesting, more powerful, and more flexible. Otherwise, cue that Suno music, big boy.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us this week. Don't forget to check us out next week. Same time, same station here on YouTube as well. If you want to join us like Roland and John have, definitely check us out at go.lordzoom.com for more information on how to connect up to us directly and sign up, and we'll get you in and you can actually ask us questions like Roland took advantage of this week. Very smart of you, Roland. Good job. All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to let YouTube know how much you love our content. And of course, we're here every Friday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, as Mr. Edelson joined us from the Pacific Coast today. And glad to see everyone here this week, and have a great week, everyone. And if you're celebrating, have a good Friday and a good Easter weekend. Take care.
Thank you, Kilobyte, for giving me a modicum of sympathy from your iPhone 16 Pro Max to my iPhone Fried 14. Thank you.
Way to go, YouTube. Take care, everyone. See you next week.
Every week we open wide the virtual stage where ideas spark and wisdom fills the page. From the UK to the land of maple trees, John and Mike bring clarity with ease. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine your message, taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine your message, taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. Thank you for joining us, we're glad you're here. Together we grow, it's loud and clear. On Zoom we connect, we learn, we grow. Welcome my friend, enjoy the show. From big events to breakout rooms with flair, we've got the tools and we're ready to share. Guest experts drop in, bringing gold each time, with insights and tricks to help you climb. Can't make it live, we've got you still on YouTube and LinkedIn. We're giving that thrill, so tune in later or catch us next round. Either way, your success is where we're bound. Thank you for joining us, we're glad you're here. Together we grow, it's loud and clear. On Zoom we connect, we learn, we glow. Welcome my friend, enjoy the show. And make it live, we've got you still. On YouTube and LinkedIn, we're giving that thrill. So tune in later or catch us next round. Either way, your success is where we're bound. Now take the spotlight, the stage is yours.
Bring your message through virtual doors. Each week we gather, and now you know you're not alone. So let it flow. Thank you for joining us. Now go and shine. Share what you've learned. Your voice, your time. With Lord Zoom Live, your power will grow. It's time to build your own show.